All right, on to chord melodies. Now, for a lot of folks, this can be the most mysterious thing to deal with, especially if you're primarily a rock guitarist or blues guitarist or country guitarist, somebody who's dealing with more of lead lines, single note soloing than chord soloing. So hopefully I'll break it down and make it a little simpler for you to get your head around. The thing to keep in mind, or a great place to start, is to have a point of origin and a point of destination. So if I was in the key of A here, find a chord that you want to start with, find a chord that you want to end with. So say I was going from A to D, a 1 chord to a 4 chord, and these were the voicings that I picked. One thing I could do is add in passing tones, and they don't have to be chords. Okay, I was just using a major scale to connect those things. The next thing I could do is incorporate those passing tones into the chords I'm playing. So if I add this B into the chord, I get that sound. Okay, if I add the C sharp into that chord, I get that sound. All right, another thing I could do is add chromatic passing tones in between those. Now I can find different ways to harmonize all these passing tones. So say I don't like this as a single note, I can harmonize it. One of the ways I could do that is just by taking the whole entire chord shape and just moving it up, and it's going to create a little momentary dissonance. But it happens for such a short period of time that it just ends up sounding like a cool tension and not something that's an ugly sound. Okay, now onto my C. I could deal with that by kicking out that pinky, or I could do the same thing and take this and move this up a half step. Now for my C sharp, maybe I want to do an inversion of my A chord. Alright, so now I have a pretty chord melody happening here. Okay, so I'm just using chromatics, using passing tones, and at this point, you have so much harmonic vocabulary that you've gotten from all the concepts so far in the course. I mean, just to go back and talk about some of them and what's available now to you to use for this stuff. You have all of your major chord inversions, right? You have all of your 6 chord inversions, and you know different ways to move those around. You have your 6/9 chord. You have your dominant 9 chord that you know. You have all those substitutions available to you. So I could throw a substitution in here. I could do my tritone substitution. I could do... Right, so you have 2 5s. I could 2/5 my way into that D. And now what's the 2? So the 2 of D is E minor. So I'm going to go E minor to A, and that's going to land me on this D. So I pick an E minor shape that's close by, an A, okay, so you know at this point a lot of great stuff you could use for your chord melody. And again, it's just about knowing where you're starting from and knowing where you'd like to end up. And it doesn't have to be everything harmonized. Sometimes it's just having the chords as kind of, like little skipping, stepping stones along the way. So they're little points that you want to hit, and you can connect them with single note melodies. And that sounds great. You don't have to harmonize everything. But now we know a couple ways that we can harmonize everything if we want. And the more you do this and the more you practice connecting stuff, the more it's just going to pop out of your playing and just kind of happen naturally. Just start with slow tempo stuff. Maybe hang out on one chord. If you're shedding this stuff, set up a loop on, an A chord and just practice moving around to the different inversions of A. Okay, and add in some of those embellishments along the way and trying to make nice little melodies and nice movement. You get a little better at that, make a loop that has your 1 to your 4 chord. Try to connect those two things. Start to master that, throw in the 5 chord. At that point, you're in really good shape because you think about most rockabilly tunes are 1, 4, 5. They don't have too many extra chords in it outside of that. They're all pretty simple progressions. All right, so that's your chord melody. Hopefully, it gives you a little bit better understanding of how to construct that stuff, how to make some of those connections. If you're a little bit more confident with everything that you've learned so far, to kind of dig into that. And that's the last of our concepts. And I think we're about ready to move into our studies section.